Welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, the number one source for news, analysis, and discussion on the Detroit Red Wings, the NHL, and all things hockey. Here are your hosts, Ryan Hanna, Brad Crisco, and Evan Lopsinger.
Trap game, right? Like start to finish, we all knew that was a trap game.
Seen it coming a mile away.
Wednesday night in Buffalo. Yes.
Against rookie goaltender making his NHL debut at age 25. And no offense to him, like, you know, happy story, blah, 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 blah. But like, this is just Red Wings trap game. Give up the win to this guy who they should have shelled. 100% trap game.
I was pleasantly surprised that I thought the weird first game curse was going to absolutely lead to a shutout. Fun little twist that it was an assist on the bingo card. You knew something bad like that was going to happen to the Red Wings. We've been down this path enough, but that's a pleasant twist on an unfortunate experience for us.
I'll tell you, it's not fun to watch games like yesterday, but it is. There's a little bit of like gallows humor, funny aspect to it when the Red Wings keep losing to players making their NHL debuts like that. Him getting an assist is veering into dangerous territory because the moment a goalie scores a goal in their NHL debut against the Red Wings, I'm right out that window. And I'm not getting back up. I'm just going right out the window. You guys will never see me again.
No, I see you because I would have beat you out the window.
And then, Evan, it's your time to shine.
Oh, I can have a nap. That'd be great.
This is usually your witching hour, and you're on week 1 of parenthood with Sullivan at home.
One
right?
week down, yeah.
Yeah, and
I'm dying.
yeah. People always comment from time to time, like, why is the guy on the left, why does he like look so disinterested, or why does he look like that? I'm like, that's his engaged face. I need you to know that. It took us like 8 years to figure that out. So 10 and a half years in, I can tell you confidently this is the most engaged you'll see him. No, right now, this man is hanging on by a thread.
I've learned to disassociate at a professional level.
That was amateur before, your dissociation?
It's this past little bit has greatly improved my skills.
Folks, welcome to the Winged Wheel Podcast, recording bright and early for you. Here to talk to you about all things Detroit Red Wings hockey, the world of the NHL, and lots more. I'm one of your hosts, Ryan Hanna.
I'm Brad Crisco.
And I'm Evan.
This episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast is presented by Greenlight Lending. Red lights are meant for lighting the lamp at the rink against rookie goalies, not your home ownership goals. Head to gogreenlightlending.com today for creative mortgage solutions with flexible closing cost options. Licensed only in Michigan, NMLS 2676683, and Equal Housing Opportunity lender and proud sponsor of the Winged Wheel Podcast. On this episode of the show, we're going to be talking about the Red Wings loss to Buffalo, which we were recording 12 hours after. We're going to be talking about questions coming up about the Red Wings forward group specifically and how Todd McLellan can address them, holes in the depth, the injuries to Raymond and Kane, DeBrincat being snake bitten, and more. We have more news about the Red Wings and the world of the NHL and whatever else we get into before overtime. Very quickly, Winged Wheel Podcast Night at the LCA is Saturday, November 15th. Go to wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings to get your tickets. They are going fast. Your ticket not only gets you into the Red Wings versus Sabres game at a discounted rate, it also gets you access to the Winged Wheel Podcast live recording of the show at Little Caesars Arena pregame, featuring special guests like Ken Daniels, Rob Ray, and others. You also get a co-branded Detroit Red Wings and Winged Wheel Podcast Centennial theme blanket. You have an opportunity for a meet and greet, all of that and lots more. So again, wingedwheelpodcast.com/Red Wings. So the Red Wings lose to the Buffalo Sabres 4-2 in Buffalo. And I mean, we joked at the start, trap game, right? But Detroit, a lot of the time, has had these kind of troubles against Buffalo. And the only time it differs, it seems like, is when Sebastian Cossa last year makes a debut and they win. Or, this time it wasn't Tage Thompson doing it to the Red Wings. It seems like it was the Red Wings doing it to themselves, really. In the box repeatedly all game. They started the game with 2 essentially back-to-back penalties. They never found their rhythm. The forward group looked as disjointed as I think they have all season. And, outside of a couple small moments, that was just a sloppy game from top to bottom.
It's easy to sit here and say, you're an NHL team, you should never have an off night. Every game on the calendar is important, but being realistic about this, it's a late October game on a Wednesday night in Buffalo. You're going to have games where you're disjointed, your timing's off. You know, they just went through the gauntlet of playoff teams from last year. So high intensity games that at least mentally will feel like they matter more. And they did well in them, obviously. So you can see this trap game coming in Buffalo a mile away. You get 2 days off. Couple key players are banged up. All the excuses are there that prevent me from freaking out. You know what I mean? I'm watching that game. I'm irritated the entire time, but it's understandable why a lot of the things were happening. The one thing, though, that I can't get by, like I said, all those reasons I laid out, these games are going to happen. Timing's going to be off. You're going to be sloppy. Effort makes up for a lot of those things to keep you in games. And God, they looked slow.
Yeah.
And a lot of the team looked disinterested, and couple goals, or one especially, results off of just a late change followed by an awful back check.
With a terrible pinch mixed in there.
Yeah, like those are, but even the pinch is the part I can forgive in a game like that because it's a bad decision, which is going to happen. But the lazy back check and the lazy change, like that's just effort. You know what I mean? And that's the stuff I can't get. And again, I promised myself and everybody I'm not going to start laying into players until at least 10 games because it's early in the season, things happen. But I got to tell you, there was more than a handful of Red Wings last night that were irritating me more than a little bit with just, I'll call it in a friendly way, their casual play.
Okay, so I just got to change some show notes here. Berggren and Rasmussen are going to be talked about later on. But yeah, I think, well, first and foremost, the Red Wings start to that game, they were outshot 11-5, I think it was in the first period. And they
iced the puck like 7 times in a row.
Yeah, and they didn't have their first shot on goal for way too long in there. They eased this rookie goaltender into the game and then essentially gave him a bunch of soft shots to look at. He had one breakaway to face, half break kind of against Marco Kasper, who didn't bury it. So that builds the confidence. You're like, oh, okay. So the Red Wings miraculously escaped the first period at 0-0 because it's not like Buffalo was doing a lot that was inspiring either. They were the better team, but it was an extremely low bar. And in the second, JT Compher actually gave the Red Wings a lead. And I was like, wow, this could be a game that the Red Wings, steal. And that was Compher from Johansson and Berggren, who both, did well to throw the puck at the net, generate the rebounds. And
wasn't even a rebound. That was a sick move by Compher. He caught that clean from the point and just pulled it around Ellis. That was signs of life from JT Compher, finally. And then they wasted it. Do you know how upset I am that we finally got a sign of life from JT Compher and the team wasted it?
First goal of the season, and Zucker scores, Tyson Kozak scores. I have so much trouble not hearing Tyler Bozak on the broadcast when they say Tyson Kozak.
Hey, now you understand all those Mason Raymond slip-ups.
I think we're dealing with different spots in the lineup here. Emmitt Finnie makes it 2-2, and again, at that point, I was like, the Red Wings have no business being tied in this game. But Emmitt Finnie off a great feed from Dylan Larkin, who makes it 7 straight games to start the season with a point. Finnie's third goal in 2 games. Raymond picking up the secondary assist, playing very obviously injured, and I was like, okay, you have enough. It's 2-2. You can win this, even though you have not played like you deserve it. Third period, Jack Quinn on Buffalo's 4th attempt, I believe, on the power play of the game, scores on the power play, and the Red Wings give up their first power play goal since the home opener against Montreal. They were perfect since then, and it was only 3-2, but at that point, you kind of knew. Josh Doan made it 4-2, and then that was that.
I don't even mind that power play goal, because that's kind of what we were talking about a couple episodes ago with, if every power play goal you give up is a shot from the outside, all right, those are going to happen from time to time. A puck's going to get through a screen. And Buffalo played that well, the way they ran the switch in the cycle so that Quinn was like walking into it right at the top of the key, which is that was a beautifully designed play by Buffalo. But it wasn't like it was a goal on a backdoor tap in or from the slot. Like, yeah, if every power play goal you give up is from the outside like that, you're still probably pretty confident in the penalty kill.
And that's that. I don't think like Gibson was terrible, but he wasn't great either. Like we were talking beforehand. It's like he wasn't the problem in the game, but it sure would have been nice to get a save, exceptional save here or there to keep a minute longer. But at the end of the day, the Red Wings kept penalizing themselves. They couldn't get a foothold in the game. They had no rhythm from start to finish, and it was kind of we knew the script from the start.
They didn't do themselves any favors trying to get into the game. It's one thing, like you guys said, midweek, go to Buffalo, which looked like there was zero atmosphere. They were at the museum in Buffalo. It's going to be tough to get up for those games, but, they didn't help themselves. Like a couple minutes into the game, Simon Edvinsson makes a lazy play, just gets beat outside in, takes an awful penalty. Like I'm sure Todd McLellan was just losing his mind after the first intermission. Just, you can't start a game on the penalty kill. You can't keep icing the puck. Like, it's just, there's no way to feel out another team when you're constantly going against the grain like that.
Yeah, and I think what Brad said at the start makes the most sense here to reiterate, which is that the bad games are going to happen. You're not sounding any alarm bells off one game. But I think it's worth having the discussion, which is what we're going to do today, that the reason a lot of these things happen, I not all, but a lot, are explainable, and you almost expect it, between the injuries and the gaps that already existed in the forward lineup and the holes in the depth that aren't filling themselves as you'd hope they would have, or you would have started to have seen by now, especially with a few players. Those are all things that played into what we saw last night. And I mean, hopefully by the time you're listening to this, the Red Wings have played the Islanders, and it's a big tone shift, and McLellan has whipped them into shape for the back-to-back because, having to record the episode Thursday morning to get it out to you, a lot of you are going to be hearing this after the Islanders game. So hopefully it's all moot, but still, yeah, the Red Wings just kind of top to bottom last night had that kind of sloppy game all at once, and no one was the hero. Not Edvinsson. Finnie and Larkin certainly tried. Not Gibson. That's what you end up with.
Yeah, another one of those games, and again, I haven't hated Gibson's game so far this year, and obviously he had that one huge game against Tampa, but two of the goals, can't blame him. The Quinn shot from the point and Zucker's opening goal, not a goalie in the league is getting either of those through the screen or on the backdoor tap in. And even the Kozak goal and the Doan goal, it's like, those are difficult saves. Most NHL goalies are not going to get those. And you can't blame him for either of those. But man, would it be nice if they were stoppable? Like there were opportunities that those pucks could have hit him. And it feels like this is the narrative with Red Wings goalies all the time. It's like, yeah, they don't give up a lot of bad ones, but it sure would be nice to get one of the ones you shouldn't get every once in a while. And that was kind of the vibe I got from him last night, where it's like, yeah, not his fault. Absolutely not his fault. But boy, it would have been nice if one of those would have hit him.
I mean, did hit him a little bit. And I'm like, if your pad is at all on it, it's kind of, people will equate it a lot. So like, if it hits the receiver in the hands or they got a hand on it at all, then it is at least somewhat catchable, right? So again, I don't think they were good goals to let in, all of them, but it was the whole team. Now, again, the Red Wings have the Islanders on Thursday night, and then they have the St. Louis Blues on Saturday at home at the LCA, and we'll be back with you on Sunday to cover those two games. But let's talk about, what led into this game. And I think first and foremost, Patrick Kane ruled out for the entire road trip. So he's, out for the Buffalo game, obviously, which, he was probably not thrilled about because it's a homecoming for him whenever he gets a chance to do that. And then out against the Islanders. So he won't be on Long Island. They're going to evaluate him for the St. Louis Blues. He did take a small little skate, like a little twirl out on the ice. He didn't take practice or anything, but he got out there. So you're hoping that that's a good sign and something that's like, this won't be too much longer. always remains to be seen because you can skate through a lot of injuries and you just want to keep rust off. So we'll see what it actually ends up being. But you saw that, and then you saw Lucas Raymond playing so hurt to the point where you're like, should you be out there right now? And I mean, I don't think Lucas Raymond's going to go and risk his long-term health, but you're also looking at this Red Wings forward lineup and you're like, just missing Patrick Kane has thrown things into disarray. And, missing Lucas Raymond, it worked out because Mason Appleton became Lucas Raymond for that week there. But missing Lucas Raymond really threw things off. To miss both Kane and Raymond, I think the Red Wings were like, we just don't stand a chance. But even Raymond he's out there collecting assists right now, playing hurt, but he is still not even remotely himself. And this goes back to, I know I harped on this a lot preseason. There's a lot to like about this forward lineup, and we've seen that, and I think it's improved from last year. It is still thin. It is still a house of cards, and there's a few key cogs where if they are hurt for any period of time, the whole thing starts to come tumbling down. And I feel like we saw a little bit of that outcome last night.
There was one really good configuration of this forward group, and yeah, house of cards is a good way of putting it, because when you take someone, just one guy out of the bottom six, because you have to move them up to the top six to fill in for a Raymond or a Kane, it means one of your bottom two lines is going to be bad. And boy, I did not like any, outside of like three players, I did not like the Red Wings game last night. But that Kopp and Rasmussen line was real bad.
Yeah.
It was a tough watch. And again, on one hand, it frustrates you, but on the other hand, it's understandable. You have to rejig this bottom six in a way that makes some kind of sense. And when you take an MBN and one of the few guys he hasn't scored this year, but some puck possession skills, and put him up into the top six, boy, does that leave a gap, a very noticeable gap in that bottom six. And, we spent years and years and years asking for this exact scenario where it's like, okay, don't go out and sign a million stupid, useless depth veterans. Let the kids play, have a spot for them. And to Yzerman's credit, he did it this year. This is what we've been begging for 10 years. This is the downside of that. Because now there is no depth to come in and replace these guys when stuff happens like this, and you just have to suffer through it until you get healthy again. I still take this over the alternative, but we'd be remiss if we didn't point out that this is one of the downsides of that decision.
Yeah, when you talk about the volatility in a lineup that comes with a very young lineup who has a high ceiling, this is what the low floor starts to look like this, where, guys are starting to get caved in tough minutes. And I mean, we've seen it a couple times now where McLellan on the road has had to figure out these lines, dealing with some kind of injury as well this time around. And the line matching is really, really tough for the Red Wings to get ahead of on the road when they don't have last change. And you can see that it's really evident. Like, how many times do you see Berggren out there last night against, a Sabre like Tage Thompson or whoever, and you're like, get him off the ice. And there's not too many configurations of that bottom six that make it so that you can shelter that player. Like Berggren, Rasmussen, there's some others there, of course, too. Like, they're on this lineup right now just by virtue of there being no immediate competition for those roles. But I have to say that the play has been so uninspired, to put it very gently. You're like, you have Nate Danielson healing right now, who would have otherwise earned a spot if you're going to use the same measuring stick as the other guys who made it. You have Carter Mazur lighting it up with Grand Rapids. You have Carter Bear coming from the WHL, which Evan is right. The WHL supremacy is real, coming, within the next year or so.
But Shelnikov, to your point, like, the cavalry is coming.
Like I said, 10 games, and then I'm going to be confident in my opinions.
Yeah, but
however bad they will be.
Seen, I get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you should. We should not be lighting guys on fire less than 10 games through the season. But the guys you're describing are the guys you're describing. Like,
yeah,
we know exactly what they are. The runway on some of these guys has just been, they should be in the cornfield, let alone on the runway. Like, they're through it.
It's like, where's that one going?
They just did not take off the ground. They just kept going.
And it's not the first time around. Like, you've been around long enough to know that you have to seize these opportunities, and not, perfectly comparable scenarios. I'm using Rasmussen and Berggren because they stood out last night, but Rasmussen with term left on his contract, Berggren with essentially yep, we'll keep you around for one more year kind of thing. Are you going to seize your spot? And both of them drawing ire from fans. Deservedly so. Those of you who've been listening for a while, I don't like caving guys. I really don't like just zeroing in on one or two guys, especially when the whole team is a problem. And last night, it's not like the Red Wings were fantastic top to bottom. But that's what McLellan has had to work around, these depth roles that are not just invisible, they are an active liability out there. And
probably, Patrick Kane goes out of the lineup, Lucas Raymond goes out of the lineup, and he looks around. He's like, okay, MBN can go up. Perfect. We need to put someone else in the top 6. Who has any signs of life from an offensive production standpoint? And it's like, what do you do?
It's telling that when that hole opened up in the top 6 and they had to fill it, Todd McLellan looked at the bottom 6 group and went, the answer here is the rookie who has 0 points.
That's a tough look when you've got guys who've played a few hundred games in the NHL.
Yeah, and that's not meant to be a shot at MBN, but that's how dire the situation in the bottom 6 can be at times, where the answer is the rookie, the 20-year-old rookie with 0 points over 10-year NHL veterans.
And the guy who in the regular season is third of the 3 rookies on the Red Wings roster in terms of how he's playing. He's not been bad, but there have been moments where I'm like, could MBN benefit from being down in Grand Rapids right now and, get Carter Mazur up for a little bit? We'll have that discussion in a second. But yeah, like, if you're losing out to that, your clock has already run out and you're on borrowed time right now. The fact that you're in these lineups, you have to, if you're one of these players, you have to seize this. Even if your future with the Red Wings isn't going to be long, you're auditioning for other teams. At this point, you have to audition for your next go to try and stick on your next team. Yeah, it's a fool's errand to expect a lot different based on, hundreds of games of tape that we've seen. But, we talked a lot in the preseason, the rookies making the team, this whole youth wave making the team, it makes the cream rise to the top in terms of the existing Red Wings roster. And some guys make it and some guys don't. And some guys are buoyed by the fact that they have contracts that are hard to deal and clauses and things like that. But at the end of the day, if you deserve to be on this roster, you will be. And if you don't, then long term, Steve Yzerman will find a way to get you off it.
And I think to that point, it's, guys move up the lineup and maybe they don't produce, whatever. But it's an effort thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they move up the lineup and they're still almost as invisible as they were in the bottom 6. So I can excuse the tougher matchups, the bigger minutes, the more difficult it is to produce. But when the effort matches that can't be happening.
And this point isn't to say like, oh, the Red Wings problem is that their worst players aren't playing better. No, like at the end of the day, this was going to be the most likely outcome. There's going to be a few guys who just weren't going to cut it, and the Red Wings have to, until they deal with that, that's what they have to figure out. But the holes in this forward lineup it all stands to point to the whole house of cards thing. And that's what the Red Wings are going to have to try to work their way around and start to patchwork fill out. Is that Nate Danielson? Is that Carter Mazur? Is that, a roster move in general via trade or waivers or what it might be? The injuries are going to be prevalent throughout the year because it's a long NHL season. Like, you're always going to probably be dealing with something. And for the Red Wings to be successful, and again, they are 5-2, like no alarm bells are being rung, but to continue on the very, very positive start to the season, this is the kind of adversity that you're going to have to get used to working around. And so I'm curious to see how this shakes out. If you're McLellan and Yzerman and the Red Wings, you're thinking, yeah, well, I mean, Kane and Raymond will get healthy or healthier, and that'll solve a lot of it. And that's true. But
well, that was the Red Wings formula during their 5-game win streak. Again, it's not to sound doomer about a team that's 5-2, but the success was coming from the top two lines, and the defense was doing their job. But that was always going to be their formula, and that has been the formula. But then, you know, if you have a night where, when you look last night, the Larkin line only got one goal.
Just one. Oh.
Just one goal. But as this team stands, that's not enough to win.
Yeah.
It's just the way it goes. And it's not like there's going to be a huge culling of all the bottom six in the offseason. That's not how this works. But it's already started on this roster where you cut the fat piece by piece. You know, there's 3 rookies on this team right now, which means there were 3 vets that were on this team last year that aren't now. You know, Gustafsson and Hall are in the minors. Soderblom's in the press box. Berggren spent time in the press box. That it's bit by bit. When Danielson is ready to go, it's another guy who's going to lose his job. Whenever Buchelnikov and Mazur are ready to go, that's 2 more guys that are going to lose their job. If there is a trade or a free agent signing in the offseason, that's another 1 or 2 guys. And it's not all going to happen at once. But, you know, everybody knows the guys we're referencing in the bottom 6. You're not losing all 4 or 5 of them at once, but piece by piece over the next 2 years, those guys are on, no pun intended, very thin ice. And they could lose their job tomorrow. They could lose it next season. They could, but it's coming. Like, and you can see it. It's coming.
The Buchelnikov thing, I've been asked a couple times recently, is he coming over this season? As of right now, he has 1 year left in his KHL contract. So he won't be in the 2025-2026 season. Big ol' asterisk. It's Russia. Things are wild with those contracts. We'll see how it plays out. But ideally, he is coming in for next preseason training camp. Now, if I'm going to offer one big silver lining, it's really good that we're talking about this from a, hey, let's preserve a 5-2 team's record standpoint. Like the bottom few players are the issue, not the top 9 kind of players. Like, oh, they had one bad night and we can immediately recognize it's just one bad night. And we all know how the Islanders game is going to go now, right? It's going to be...
They're going to get outshot 30-10 again and win 2-1?
No, it's going to be like they're going to play like it's a home game, and it's going to be like Berggren or Rasmussen or Soderblom are going to score like 3 combined goals, and the Cam Talbot's going to pitch a shutout.
Any other game, I'd say probably, but I don't know what it is about the Red Wings and the Islanders. Those are always the worst hockey games imaginable.
They're boring. And I blame the Islanders too. And boring. I blame Lou, and he's not around to scare. I blame Lou.
It'll be the Red Wings' first look at Matthew Schaefer in the flesh, which has been nothing short of electric. So that'll be exciting to watch.
That kid is.
He might be I was trying to think of first overall picks over the last however far back my brain goes, so like 2 drafts or so. Is he one of the first overall picks that has been underrated?
Oh, yeah. I mean,
he had the weird circumstance of he only played, 17 OHL games last season. So everybody recognized the talent, but I think everybody was aware that there was a big risk factor that came with him due to sample size. It's like, okay, guy looks like he could be a dude, but he's only had so much time looking like a dude. So is he going to actually be that at the next level? So the fact it's happened for him this quickly is probably the surprise. Not that it happened, just this quickly is probably the unexpected part.
He's like an industry plant if NHL coaches could create industry plant players. Like, he's just a prototypical...
He's a Taylor Swift of the NHL.
Yeah, of defensemen. Like, he is what every NHL head coach wants in a defenseman. And they got him right away. All right, quick break. Word from our sponsors. More after this. Celebrate a century of Red Wings hockey at Hockeytown Centennial Fan Fest, November 6th to 9th at Motor City Casino Hotel. Experience the ultimate Red Wings celebration, packed with activities for fans of all ages. Meet and mingle with over 50 Red Wings legends and Hall of Famers, including Sergei Fedorov, Scotty Bowman, Nick Lidstrom, Steve Yzerman, Chris Chelios, and so many more. Exclusive merchandise, interactive experiences, skills challenges, autograph sessions, and more. You won't want to miss this once-in-a-lifetime event. Tickets are going fast. Get yours now at DetroitRedWings.com/fanfest now. Welcome back. Dylan Larkin, 7-game point streak. Has he changed your projections at all on his point totals? Because dude's playing with fire this year. Playing with a fire inside him, not playing with fire. You know what I mean?
Short answer, no. And that's not a negative. It's a positive because he does this every year. It's just, he always has these stretches where he is automatic. The issue with Larkin is never the quality of his play. It's the quality of his health. So until he's healthy for 82 games, it's hard to change the outcome because I don't think any Red Wings fan who's watched the Red Wings for the last 10 years goes, if we get 82 games of a healthy Dylan Larkin, he's not going to put up 90 points. I think everybody knows he would. It's just we never get those 82 games of a fully healthy Dylan Larkin. So I think everything is status quo. It's just nice that it's out of the gate this hot, but he's had these stretches every year.
First star of the week across the entire NHL. I agree that he has these stretches. I will say this one does feel notable. And, I had my doubts as to how long it might last, but Emmitt Finnie looks better and better every game. And even now, playing with a Lucas Raymond that's very clearly hobbled, those two are working really well together. Again, WHL supremacy. You're right, Evan. But it looks like Larkin is really gelling with that line, and it's never been a struggle for Larkin to gel with the top line because he's had Raymond and they've made whatever slappy they've put on the first line work. But yeah, I don't know. I see a lot this year. Maybe some of it's being driven by the passion for the Olympic year, and a lot of guys are driven by that kind of thing, and that's good. You want to see that if you want to see him come back from the Olympic break healthy, but still, this could be a year where Larkin breaks through some barriers. We know, I agree, Brad. We know this is a very easily point per game kind of guy if he's playing healthy in every one of those games. We just haven't seen it, but I have some optimism.
It's really nice to see them working well together. Larkin did all the effort last night, made a great pass out front, and how many times have I said it? How many years has Larkin done all the work, get it out front, and no finish? And Emmitt Finnie made no mistake last night. So it's good to see that they can put a 7th-round pick rookie on the top line and have some success. Like we've alluded to this episode, that the top line is not part of any problems. There's no real warning bells for me from those guys.
Well, we'll see how long it hangs in there and Larkin continues to be among league leaders. And I mean, the longer that Emmitt Finnie continues to improve, the better that is for the Red Wings as well. Jumping out to other Red Wings, or soon-to-be Red Wings, you'd hope. We've talked a lot about Nate Danielson. Again, he had a great preseason in camp, and you hope that being out this long doesn't offer too much rust and he can kind of get up to game speed with Grand Rapids so he could be called up. Carter Mazur, seems to have been motivated by not making the team down in Grand Rapids. 4 goals, 2 assists, 6 points through 4 games with the Griffins so far, and seems to be next man up if you're not counting Danielson. And even right now, if it was to happen right now, it feels like it'd be Carter Mazur if they needed a forward. That's something to look forward to.
It's a slow culling. One guy at a time. And yeah, it looks like it'll be Mazur. I am curious about the dynamic because Mazur didn't even really make it to what you would call final cuts with the Red Wings. So I don't know how McLellan is necessarily feeling about him, because obviously even McLellan himself said Danielson probably would have made it had it not been for the injury. So I think the timing of when they decide to make a move, if they decide to make that move, will determine whether it's Danielson or Mazur. Because I think if McLellan had his way and they have a fully healthy Danielson there, It'll be him.
Because he can play center.
Yeah. And if Danielson's still not back or still kind of in his quote-unquote conditioning stint phase of coming back, then it would definitely be Mazur, I think. I don't think there's really many other obvious options other than those two right now. I'm sure as the season goes on, Lombardi's going to get some conversation, but I don't think as it stands today, he's in that conversation. But we're in October, still a lot of time for that to change.
That'd be a night. Like, people almost forget about it too. Like you said, Brad, he didn't have the best preseason, dealing with the tail end of injuries and things like that. But you can see the fruits of what he's put into all summer in terms of strengthening his body and his game. So it's nice for him to come back on the radar and to know that the wave of rookies doesn't mean that all the guys who got skipped this time around are expelled from the system. Like, they're still there. I mean, you're hopeful as well that, Bouillon, when he gets healthy, although he looks to be a little bit longer than Danielson at the very least being out, when he gets healthy, he can find form. And even if he's not cracking this defensive roster, which as of right now still looks like their best solution, you would like another reasonable depth option rather than going to a Hall or a Gustafsson or a Hamonic. Speaking of Gustafsson, those rumors are still abound, and I still think that is the most likely trade option for the Red Wings. And I think it just bears repeating because there's been a lot of questions of like, if they trade, Gustafsson and Berggren and, a second, can they get? The answer is most likely no. Like, if there's a return for Gustafsson whatsoever, I think that would be impressive. This is more of they're finding a home for this guy who's probably good enough to be on another team's roster. It's just not a fit in Detroit. It's not like he's played well. He hasn't at all as a Red Wing. Very rarely have we seen good games from Gustafsson, but the Red Wings are wanting to do right by him and find him a solution. They would like to do the same for Hall too, but they've been trying that for a long time now, and people aren't encouraged to take that contract. So I don't think Hall or Hamonic or, for anyone who's hopeful for like Compher or something like that, that's prohibitive. But the Gustafsson thing I can actually see happening. So we'll see what team decides to pull the trigger first.
We should get ahead of this now because it will be the number one asked question if a Gustafsson trade does come to fruition. No, the future considerations will not be anything. It will be nothing, and we will say thank you to the team that is taking it.
Yes. Yeah. It doesn't help the Red Wings all that much at all, right? Like, there's very little of his cap hit that actually affects the cap. They have cap space. That doesn't matter. So in the end, it's going to be much ado about nothing, but still. Oh, one other prospect I should be talking about. Max Plante, man.
Oh, yeah.
Like, one of the top players in college hockey right now. And, the story's been out on him for a while. It was just slow to be released because he had that injury for so much of that season after he was drafted. But that dude has just been electric. Let's Go Red Wings Prospects has written a Max Plante piece on wingedwheelpodcast.com/blog. Go read it. But that guy, I have full faith in him being as excited as you may be for like Dmitry Bachelnikov. I have the same amount of excitement for Max Plante.
Oh, absolutely. I haven't checked his exact stats in the past week, but the last I saw, he had 10 points in 5 games. Like, in the NCAA. It's insane.
Yeah, he's 2 points per game through 6 games. Yeah.
So 12
5 goals, 7 assists through 6 games with Minnesota Duluth.
So yeah, 12 points in 6 games. That is absurd.
And last year, put up 9-19 for 28 points in 23 games. So he was no slouch, and it looks like he's like, yep, I'm the pro here. I've been there, I've done that. I'm too good for this league.
And I will keep pointing it out. His strength is what the Red Wings are lacking most up front, in that he is a high-end playmaker.
Mm-hmm.
The Red Wings have a lot of guys who are good playmakers, but the Red Wings definitely have a lot more shooters than they have guys like him, and that's counting on the team and in the farm system.
All right, one more Red Wings note here. We touched on it near the top, but MBN. Michael Brandsegg-Nygard's start hasn't been as exceptional as we saw in the preseason, where he led in scoring and points, and it wasn't even just a Red Wings leader, but a league leader in the preseason. And it's the preseason, but it was still cool and exciting to see. Hasn't translated for MBN, and I don't think he's been bad, but you look at him and again, I say, could he benefit from being down in Grand Rapids and just seeing the puck hit the back of the net? Could he benefit from just having his solid plays have more of an impact on the play? Working on those detailed part of his game and just getting more used to the kind of pace and the speed of the decision-making, the time and space of the North American pro game. And I know what the answer is to this. I could see it on you, Brad, but I'm wondering about MBN.
Two answers to this question. One, if we are isolating MBN, I do think it would be beneficial for him to go to Grand Rapids and just build his confidence up, because he looks slow at NHL pace right now. He's making a lot of the right plays and you can see he's getting it. His feet aren't quick enough to make a lot of the things happen that he needs to make happen right now at NHL pace. And yeah, going down to a league that's slightly slower would be good for him. But you can't. There's nobody to replace him. Unless you are that confident that Carter Mazur can come up and play his exact role right now, which I don't know if I'm that far on Mazur yet, you're kind of stuck. There's nobody that you can replace him with adequately right now, and that's the issue.
It would be a horizontal move at the absolute best, right? I agree. I think MBN could use some time in Grand Rapids on a good team with Dan Watson as the head coach to just refine around the edges a little bit. But, ultimately it's about the Red Wings winning games, and taking MBN out of the lineup and injecting, I don't know, Soderblom, I guess, into the lineup. Or moving somebody up the lineup. I just don't think that's a better recipe for success right now.
Now, I don't think it's to the point where it's like, oh yeah, MBN being in the NHL is harming his development, a la like when Michael Rasmussen came into the league because of the stupid CHL-NHL agreement that really, I think, torched his development permanently. I don't think it's that. I think MBN is still, learning as he goes, and I look how we saw Kasper and Johansson start last season and how they ended up. Different circumstances, I know, but it's still a good proof of concept to show you that these development paths aren't linear. I also think about what you both just said, like, oh, if Mazur can come in and, do a one-to-one replacement of what he's doing. Well, if he could do that, then keep MBN and Mazur and get rid of one of the other guys.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So it's one of those things where MBN, you could slide his contract. He's one of the few slide-eligible contracts, and the Red Wings are better off not. They genuinely are. Right now, they're better off not doing it. And it's not always like, oh, the team is so bad that you have to keep this guy up. I think Nate Danielson could have made this team in his first ever training camp, but it just made more sense to develop him further. I think MBN is further along the path. And again, I don't think this is causing a long-term lowering of his ceiling, but we'd be remiss in not pointing out that it's not been all, bright lights and goal horns for all three Red Wings rookies so far. There have been expected and normal growing pains so far.
Yeah, it's all what you're contributing on a nightly basis. Finnie, we don't have to talk about. We know what he's doing is obvious. He's the best of the three of them to this point. Sandin-Pellikka has had his mistakes, but he has also made a lot of plays.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he's a defenseman, so you don't expect the points to come like you would a forward. But again, you watch ASP every night and you can point out 5 or 6 plays that he made that helped the team, that if you replaced him with Hamonic or Gustafsson, that they just simply would not make. MBN, you have to look a little closer to find those benefits. They're there, but they're not so obvious as the other two. He's also the type of guy, too, that I've got some faith that once he can put a crack in the dam, i.e. score a goal, the dam will start to break. And
nobody needs an empty net goal more than him.
I think Alex DeBrincat.
Oh, yeah, that's true. They're going to be really fighting each other.
There's like Johansson puts one off the glass with an empty net. Puck's rolling into the neutral zone. MBN and DeBrincat are racing for it to get that empty net breakaway. They accidentally kill each other trying to get the puck.
Who was it? Was it Christian Dvorak for the Flyers who tipped in an empty net goal? He was in.
Did you see Talkett's response to that?
Oh,
Perfect answer.
I've been preaching to the boys about net front presence. I'm telling you, if you're DeBrincat or MBN and there's a goal going to the empty net, like it's Rocket League, go steal your friend's goal. Steal the goal. If you're the Red Wings, find who's the e-bug in the arena. Find their friend who's a goalie who's not even good enough to be an e-bug. Put them out in Red Wings gear and practice and just have MBN and DeBrincat shoot on them all night, all practice. The Red Wings right now have, like, they're getting good play, but at the same time, there's those small things. So actually, we should talk about Alex DeBrincat. That guy is certain points. I'm like, yeah, he's snake bitten and he's overthinking it, gripping the stick. And, that was an opportunity that he missed. And some points I'm like, how does that not go in for him? Like it's a mix of that. But at the end of the day, that doesn't matter because the goal didn't happen. It didn't go up on the scoreboard and he still didn't break the dam. If anyone needs a break right now, it's Alex DeBrincat because we've seen when he's feeling it, he gets in that flow state, he knows that his shot is going in, things change for him and everything just piles up. The goals just pile up. But when he grips the stick too tight, it's almost like he's trying to force it. And this is just purely anecdotal, just from what a spectator sees, but it looks like he's just trying to will through what is amounting to a curse, as you mentioned last night, Brad. And you don't want to get into that space because that's when we see a streaky Alex DeBrincat. He needs to get something redirected in off a defender or something because that's starting to be a little concerning, the fact that it's not happened yet.
You think if it wasn't an NHL goalie making his debut last night, that 1T cross ice he had on the Casper pass, that thing's going 2 inches under the bar and it hits the goalie was he literally stacking the pads and it hits him in the elbow?
I'm telling you, man, they eased him into that game. They made him feel like prime Dominic Hasek in that Sabres uniform.
Like any other goalie in the league who's not going through his NHL debut luck, that's in the net. Like, it's insane the amount of different ways the puck is finding ways to not go in for Alex DeBrincat.
Yeah, we need El Cato to break out this year. Ton of assists, the inverse Johan Franzen. But I honestly, if you gave me a choice, I would rather take actual Johan Franzen performance from DeBrincat. Let the others pile up the assists. We'll see how that plays out. All right, very quickly across the NHL, any standout storylines for you so far before we jump into the last segment here? It's too early to tell, but just through these 6 to 8 games across the league so far.
Ottawa still sucks, so that makes me happy. Toronto's a little early on their culture meltdown this year. Anthony Stolar is just calling out the entire team, and he was right, by the way. I've seen some people say he shouldn't have said it. Maybe not. What were we to? We said it in reference to Steve last episode. Now we can say it to Stolarz. He's out of line, but he's right. Toronto is the market that just keeps on giving.
Calgary is apparently way worse than I ever thought they were. If they didn't have Dustin Wolf, they have 0 points.
Well, he's been bad, yeah.
Yeah, if he doesn't...
And that's how bad they are.
Yeah.
The San Jose Sharks, through 6 games, are winless, despite their head coach offering to trade one of his children for a win.
No, he just needs some sleep, so he's just trying to find out what the value is.
That's Evan right now.
He's future considerations.
I can't believe, you know what? Everyone's like, I can't believe he had to go out and apologize. Like, are we so sensitive now? I'm like, that one screamed to me like someone got yelled at home. Like, that to me was, yeah.
I have told my kids directly I would trade them for a cheeseburger as we're in a McDonald's. Like,
well, have you seen the price of McDonald's over the past few years? You know how I don't do political opinions on the show, but the price of food, let me tell you. Yeah, that was San Jose is what, 0-4-2? That's not a hot start for them. In Toronto, I've had more than one person reach out to me and say, hey, so what was Derek Lalonde like as a coach? And I went, it's going that bad, huh? I don't think it's all Derek Lalonde's fault. Like, you look at that roster and you're like, yeah.
Who'd have thought that Maselli and Dakota Joshua couldn't replace Mitch Marner?
Can I say something obvious? Replacing someone in the aggregate still
you don't trade $1 for 4 quarters.
You only can put out so many guys on the ice at once. And so if you need 3 players to be 1 player, you'd rather have the 1 player because then you can play 2 other guys and you get plus 2 more players worth of performance. That shouldn't need to be stated, but some people take the meme and the joke and they run with it and then they're surprised at the results. This is like when you're playing your fantasy football league and someone offers you like 6, 4th, 5th round guys for your first round draft pick. And you're like, no, I can only play so many guys at once. Like they lost Marner and first of all, they didn't even replace him remotely closely in the aggregate. Secondly, it's exposed a lot of what was being papered over in terms of, their high-end guys made it work, but otherwise that team is like, they're trying to figure out their top 6, let alone their bottom 6. Their defense is nothing to be thrilled with in some spots. I had them higher up in the division, and that's the one that I'm looking at where I'm like, ooh, is that going to make me look real stupid?
Right. I was thinking the same thing last night.
We both had Tampa ahead of we all had Tampa ahead of them in the rankings, and Tampa's actually far worse than Toronto this year. So weird times.
Tampa knows how to. Thing is, the Tampas and the Floridas, they know how to load manage. They know how to turn it on at the end of the season. The Leafs, they don't go to cup finals. What would they know?
They don't have a backup parachute.
No, they just kind of skydive and they go, hey, who packed the parachute?
I'd say they leave it all on the line in the regular season, but they don't even really do that.
You're really going to use that line?
It's all or nothing.
All right, another quick break here when we're back at the final segment on this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Back after this. You're invited to a night at the Fox Theater celebrating 100 years of Hockeytown on November 8th. Hosted by Ken Daniels and Mickey Redmond, hear stories from legends like Yzerman, Fedorov, Lidstrom, Zetterberg, and Bowman, plus alumni meet and greets. Enjoy music, video, and live storytelling for one spectacular night. Get your tickets at DetroitRedWings.com/Fox event.
We're going to overtime.
Overtime is brought to you by our Patreon supporters, patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast. If you want to support the show, you get access to benefits like our bonus overtime episodes, which record right after these main ones. We let loose, we have fun. If you enjoyed last episode's headbutt story from Evan, I'll tell you that the overtimes get a lot more off the rails than that. You also get access to our Patreon exclusive Discord, which is an awesome community. You're automatically entered into all of our giveaways, and you can sign up for our giveaway directly to Patreon supporters of 2 tickets to every Detroit Red Wings home game. Again, all going directly to our patrons. So again, patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to support us and join the Dub Club. Some questions from our patrons. Jeremy Dawes says, when the team goes into the locker room between periods, does the coach tear into them? Or does the locker room kind of take care of itself? Did the guys stand up and talk? How does that dynamic work? And the answer to this is, it depends. Depends on the coach and his style. It depends on the guys in the room. It depends on how bad the performance was. I'll say a lot of the times you'd be surprised by how little the coaches talk in the NHL compared to what you might have grown up with as you played.
Well, I've heard stories time and time again of a coach is walking into a room ready to, peel paint off the walls, and then he already hears the leadership group tearing into everybody and then just does a U-turn and goes, yep, I'm not needed here. That's what a good organization will have happen quite a bit. Sometimes the coach goes, no, this is too bad. I'm going to deal with this, and then goes in and tears a strip off of them. 90% of the time when it's just your run-of-the-mill game, go in there, 30-second, quick, reiterate a couple points and get on with it. But like in a game last night, like the way it was going, I'd be surprised if McLellan didn't at least tear into him a little bit between periods at least once.
Mm-hmm.
Not that you can't go nuclear every time or else it loses its effect, but after a 5-game win streak and then you have that performance, you're probably going to get a little bit of a a smack from the coach. And McLellan doesn't seem like the patient type. I mean, he called up the whole team after the first game. So
Yeah.
yeah, it depends. But usually in a situation like that, the coach will have his piece.
Yeah. Jeremy also asked about like what a players only meeting look like, and does the captain stand up and do it? Like you said, Brad, in good organizations, yeah. Players only meetings are usually not a good sign of a thriving organization if they're making the news that it's happening and it's happening often, but it's, again, more common than you think that the guys take care of it themselves.
Well, I heard a former player talking about the Miami Dolphins in the NFL because they had a players only meeting a few weeks ago or whatever it was. And he said, when you get to that point, it's already over.
Yeah. This one from STW Cass says, as a newer hockey fan, I'm still learning a lot along the way. Any recommendations for understanding some of the niche lingo and abbreviations? I heard QB in one of the prior episodes and could only come up with football terms. Well, you're spot on because that's what it's from.
Yep.
Sports borrow from a lot of other sports. Like a lot of sports around the world borrow from baseball and football.
Yeah.
Like American football I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Dylan Larkin playing the first base position tonight.
Go watch Shoresy, honestly.
Yeah.
Watch Shoresy. And it's like, you know how they say to really learn a language, you can do all the Duolingo and stuff that you want, but you have to go speak the language in the country or around native speakers. That's what Shoresy is for hockey. Watch Shoresy. You'll pick up a lot that way. A lot of the more unsavory stuff, but that is by definition hockey lingo.
Or just hang out in any small town in Ontario.
Yeah, pretty much. The Jack Scientist says, at what point does Danielson get called up post-conditioning stint in Grand Rapids? Because this is becoming less of a, well, he won't be worse situation. As long as he is not awful, I have to imagine it would be soon, right? Like,
I don't know when he's due back, but I'd be surprised if he spends more than a month in Grand Rapids.
Yeah, they just need to be confident that he's up to speed, no lingering, strength or conditioning issues. And it would be fine if there was. Sometimes these things take longer to heal from, but his spot's not exactly cemented over in the Red Wings lineup right now. Join the Darksider says, is it too early to talk about Finnie at least being in talks for the Calder? Okay, 1, no, but 2, with Schaefer and Demidov having the years that they are, like those are 2 spots that seem to be pretty firm. So it's between like Finnie and Bouillon and Seneke to...
So a bunch of top 5 picks, a top 12 pick, and then a 7th round pick. Give me that narrative.
I'll take it. That should earn him at least a finalist. It's 7 games in, mind you, but...
Tie goes to the 7th rounder if you don't know which one to vote for.
Yeah, that's right. Cletus is asking about Michael Rasmussen. Could he be traded? Would he clear waivers? What would be the best option if the Red Wings wanted to move on from him?
The best option was you needed to trade him a year and a half ago when he had value.
Remember when he was kind of the middle forward who was stirring the drink?
Not
For
really.
a brief moment.
No, he was.
When he got hurt, that he had a season-ending injury, I think, and the
kneecap.
team lost their mojo.
That's my thing with Rasmussen is I don't think Rasmussen's going to ever be what the team and expectations hoped he would be, but he can be better than this. I know he can be better than this. We've seen
that's the thing. Outside of that 3-month window, we haven't.
No, the
he's
prevailing performance has been what we've been seeing lately.
I know we don't tolerate any Adam Ernie slander on this podcast.
Every episode, this guy with Adam Ernie.
But he's Adam Ernie, where Adam Ernie realistically had one hot streak with the Red Wings and was like a below replacement level player for the rest of it. That's what Rasmussen is.
When Rasmussen scores 20 goals, I'll entertain this
and
conversation.
his offensive ceiling was never as high as Adam Ernie's.
Adam Ernie could rip it from time to time. Quarterly, Adam Ernie would give us a sick goal. You don't exactly get that from
What was the stat Prashant gave us in the last 2 years? 26% of Rasmussen's points have been on an empty net.
Between last season and the start of this or something? Yeah.
Something like that. I said I'd wait till 10 games, but you guys are winding me up now.
No, but you haven't waited till 10 games because Adam Ernie's not even here anymore. And our Lord and Savior is you've moved on from... Anyways. No, I think he could be... If the Red Wings hypothetically wanted to move on from Ras, he doesn't have the same trade value, but there would be a team who
Even with that contract now?
That's where I've started to second guess myself as I was halfway through that sentence.
Because I'm not even sure he would get claimed on waivers at this point. I think if he was $1 million player, a team would absolutely take a flyer on him. But I think at that contract, nobody's going to touch that.
I think it might be marginal for one reason. Big.
Yeah.
And Canadian.
Yeah, big, good old Canadian boy. Although, Evan, he came from the WHL.
Ah, well, it's not always perfect.
All right, we have time for one more question here before we wrap this one up. The real K Brown says, what stat line do you think ASP would hypothetically have to be in the Calder conversation at the end of the year? You're looking at least 40 plus points, I think. Like the way this is trending,
aren't they usually like half point per game defensemen to be considered, like, I'll say Calder eligible, but you know what I mean.
D don't get a lot of love in the Calder unless they are substantial point producers. Seider was 50 points when he won it. Obviously what Lane Hudson did last year, and God, those feel like the only two forever. So it has to be like special levels of offense.
Yeah, I don't think there's two other defensemen in Schaefer and Bouillon too. So it's not only that you have to earn the recognition as a defenseman, you have to beat out those other two who have gotten off to a hotter start. So it just doesn't seem likely to me that he would have to have an electric rest of his season. All right, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Winged Wheel Podcast. Thank you all so very much for tuning in. Thank you to the sponsors of the show. And thank you to all of our Patreon supporters. Patreon.com/Winged Wheel Podcast if you want to join the Dub Club and support us on Patreon. And if you want to help us out, Patreon's not for you. That is totally okay. Just by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, all of that really helps. Leave a thumbs up, the heart, a rating, a review, a like. All of that is really beneficial to us and is, greatly appreciated. Apologies to everyone if the episode showed up in your feed twice this past week. It was because of the AWS issues. So if you had troubles hearing the show, then you got it twice. We just got caught up in that with the timing. So many apologies, and we're going to blame Evan for that one this time around, just because we can.
Yeah, sorry, my data center went down that day.
Yeah. Oh, that explains the billions. To all of our name level supporters on Patreon, we cannot thank you enough. Arjun Shankar, Aikfer, Martin Norberg, THL Champ, Samuel Soderholm, Icon, Glenn Brabham, Rain Dano, Below Average Ball Hockey Goalie, Matthew M. Rice, Darb EQ, Sea-Line, Bingo Bango, Hassam Al-Qassem, Asher Killian, Kaylin Wood, Alex Toger, That's What I Appreciate About You, Derek Enstam, Matt McKay, Andy Hardcore, Sam Bankson, Citizen High Five, R.A., Aaron Hudson, Admiral Matt S. The Cheesebag Navy, The El Cato, Stephen Ortlieb, Jonathan Miller, Give Blood Fight Probert, DJ Denton, Carl Bertinen Nanaluski, Jay Gollum, John Ingalls, CB55, Connor Scovey, Adam Zuiza, Adam Rose, Who, Steve R, Hockeytown Matt, Mr. Kuzi, Chaotic Monkey, Craig Kibble, Iserplan Stan, Clip Clop, Nene, Now I Have to Learn How to Click on a Macintosh, Podgy713, Griffin Knott from Grand Rapids, Marty, Kozlov's Punch to Foot's Head, Jeff Pridemore, Eric Hill, Butts Carlton, Best James Bond, Beer League Legend, Alec, Mark Hernandez, Slim Smitty Cards, Grand Rapids Girly, Anna Sleeman, William, Kip Tira Jr., Mike Asher, Chris Black, August, Brian Munn, General Andy Bohan of the Cheesebag Army, Quaz, Lonnie Zone, Dylan Larkin Trade Sacrifice, Rippin, Smellin' Salts with Mickey, Matt Keeler, Linda Hull, Joseph Taylor, Compher, Michael Brandsegg-Nygard, James Van Riemsdyk, Axel Sandin-Pellikka, Jacob Bernard Doinker, Connor Leighton, As Good As It Gets, Jeremiah Dobo, Josh Yelton, Brad Simmons, Darren Fick, Bex, The Hodag, Baseball, Basketball, Wiener Dog, Short Sports, Commander Ben Barron, The Cheeseback Space Force, Sandin-Pellikka's Pet Pelican, Griffey Boy, JM Rhapsody, Frank Stanley, Rosie Posey, Ophelia, That Other Guy, Pucking, Puck, Carl Thames, The Hat 123, Stephen A. Ron, Corey Prida, All Motor No Hands, Gene Sullivan, Roy Mudbutt, Big Cheese, James Pridemore, Upernadian, Drop the Puck, Eric Nance, Ann Stanislavski, Jim, Bellingham Acid Balls, our good friend Wings fan St. Louis Scott, Johnny Page, Lucas Raymond, Cops, Bubba Gump, Lip, Trent Thorough, Grepsky, Evan Beckner, Return to Jambo, C.E. Hayes, Finney to the Rafters, Jacob Marsh, Falkness, 91 in the Rafters, and I'm Still Stranded in Arkansas, Fight Night at the Joe, Andrew Shaw, Axel's Sandy Pelican, and your second favorite patron. Thank you all so very much. We will talk to you Sunday.
Thanks for tuning in to the Winged Wheel Podcast. Be sure to visit wingedwheelpodcast.com, where you'll find links to subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. You'll also find ways to support the show, like Patreon, official podcast merchandise, and more. And don't forget to follow us on X at Winged Wheel Pod, at Ryan Hanna, WWP, at Brad Crisco, and at Hockeytown Evan, as well as Winged Wheel Podcast on Instagram.
This message is brought to you by Greenlight Lending. Are you facing financial red lights on your home ownership journey? Don't have money for a down payment or closing costs? Struggling with your current mortgage payment or other debt obligations? Or maybe you have a complicated situation like credit challenges or self-employment income? At Greenlight Lending, they turn those red lights green with creative mortgage solutions for purchase and refinance loans. Their team crafts personalized plans with flexible closing cost options, competitive brokered rates, and innovative loan programs tailored to your needs. Whether it's finding the right loan or guiding you through the process, they're here to help you score your home ownership goals. Let's get you out of the penalty box and into the game. Head to gogreenlightlending.com to explore solutions or call Nick directly at 586-321-1888 for your customized plan. All loans are subject to credit approval, terms, and conditions. Rates and programs vary. Contact for details. Greenlight Lending, lighting the way to your financial future. NMLS 2676683, an equal housing opportunity lender, proud sponsor of the Winged Wheel Podcast.